So the best thing is to make a nice video about it, yeah?
Thanks for coming down. How are you?
So these videos, how long or how short these are?
It's good.
There's like a 2-week gap between the first one and the second
Yes,
one.
that's right.
So we're like, oh yeah.
Fantastic, okay. Great, good to see you. I'll chat more with you. Hello, hi, I'm Raj. Karen, good to see you. So what do you do, Karen?
But it's good that they've got chicken pox. Let me tell you, it is really tough.
First year students, that can be very challenging. But what's the intake here? How many students are? Oh, we have got around the same. We have got 310 now. But yeah, so do you actively teach them as well? Oh, okay. How does that go? What made you come for this session? Is there anything particular? No? Okay. Yay. Oh, fantastic. So I'm lucky got you here. Oh, fantastic. Right. So, fantastic. So thank you so much for being here. I hope it's of some value. Yeah, I think there are certain things which you could probably take away, especially if you're a very big class and if you're teaching. So if you have to repeat the same thing a few times, there could be ways in which you could use some of these things. And,
Thank you very much.
are you sort of into making some videos and that sort of stuff as well, or potentially? I know. Everybody's forced to do that. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you hear it from the students as well sometimes? Do you think they might appreciate it or they might not appreciate it? Or? But then they...
So we're going down there.
Oh, they're never happy, eh? They're like kids, you can never keep them happy. I'm in Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences, so my background is in audiology. And I'm involved in teaching health science students, audiology students, and I give guest lectures around. And I'm now gradually getting involved into teaching and learning, research, and so it just organically happened to me. So I'm quite interested in talking about some of the things which I have done, the challenges I have faced, and sometimes I think when you share these things, it can help others as well to sort of connect a little bit. That's the main purpose, actually. I'm not here to sort of teach something special or anything. Yeah. Look, good to see you, and I'll chat more, all right? Right, yeah. I'll talk to you more, Vinod. Okay. Catherine, where's the type? Like, let me know where I should be. So, but is there a line or something? Like, so you mean this line here?
Yeah, I'm going to put something there.
Yeah. Seems like I need. So it seems if I move around, then I will not be there on the video, it seems. She says that, right?
Go there. How's
I
that?
know you win the beauty prize, right?
Oh.
So, you can come step off the camera for 5 seconds.
I would love that, actually, but...
Okay, all right. Whatever.
All right, yeah.
Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, perfect. This is perfect, yeah.
That's your rectangle.
Then we've got camera on the right. Is that right? Yep.
Hi, I'm Raj. Zach, good to see you. What do you do, Zach? Do you also sort of organize these seminars and things like that? Okay. Great.
Eva.
Eva,
Nice to
good
meet
see
you.
you.
Hello, Drummond.
Good to see you. What's your background like? Okay. When you say education focused, is it like 100%, 80% teaching, 20 service? Oh, fantastic. Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. It's interesting that in New Zealand we don't have positions like these yet.
Okay. All right, hello everyone. We're about to start. I'm trapped at the lectern here because Catherine says I need to use the microphone, which is hidden. So welcome everyone. If you don't know who I am, I'm Chris Tisdale. I have a real honour and privilege and pleasure today introducing Dr. Raj Shekhawat to you from the University of Auckland. It looks like you've met everyone here already, which is good. We know everyone's busy. There's school holidays on at the moment, so thank you for coming. So let me tell you a little bit about Raj. I got to first meet Raj 2 years ago. We met via an email, and we formed, I guess, a really good working relationship the last 2 years. Raj is trained as an audiologist, so he's a world leader in audiology. And he's also very active in learning and teaching. So, for example, he's a professional teaching fellow at the University of Auckland. He's just been given a fellowship status by HERDSA, which is the peak body in Australasia for higher education, research and development. And he's completing his HEA senior fellowship as we speak. So I had a real joy hanging out with Raj at the HERDSA conference last week. He was almost beyond active there. He was almost hyperactive, giving 3 talks. So this is the final one. So let's make Raj really welcome. His talk is about video e-consultations. So let's make him welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for the wonderful words. So I'm extremely delighted to be here. And before I start, I would also like to thank Elaine and Catherine for the wonderful work you guys do and the lot of background things you do, you know, in terms of organizing these seminars. So thank you, both of you. I really appreciate your efforts. And so in the next 60 minutes, in a small group, we would talk a little bit more about what we can do to enhance student engagement and their assessment experience. I'm going to share my experiences and the challenges I've encountered and a little bit of success we have seen through student feedback and things like that. I'll share all that with you, okay? Considering we are a small group, feel free to interrupt me at any stage. My 2 daughters and my wife have trained me really well, really well, yeah. So we can test that today. And the last couple of days, we were at HERDSA conference, and it was very stimulating. And the one message which I'm going to carry with me, and I thought I'd share it with you all, is about teaching and learning. So the thought which came was learning can be very challenging, and it can be uncomfortable as well. So we all learn as we teach. So I need to keep that in mind, that it is a challenging thing, and it can be uncomfortable, and it can be the same for the students as well. And teaching can be disruptive. It can be provoking. It can be nourishing. And it could be an awkward space. So as academics who are involved in teaching, it's always good to be mindful of some of these things as well. So that's my take-on message from the HERDSA conference. And before we start, I had an opportunity to sort of interact with a few of you. I will very quickly again talk to you, and I prefer when people sort of exchange their thoughts and engage as well. So I would like to know, what are your expectations in the next 60 minutes? Why are you here in this session? What was the main reason to be here in this session? Some of you want to share these things? Vinod, let's start with Vinod, and we'll come to you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm from School of Optometry.
Yes.
And I teach clinical optometry side, basically with contact lenses.
Yes.
So it's, I think when you make a video to show things, it's much easier to explain things rather than a kind of PowerPoint presentation. So I made videos, and I want to make better ones.
Okay.
So that's the reason I'm here.
Fantastic. I'm sure we can help you with that. We'll cover that. Yes. Fantastic, yeah. Eva, you're at the right place. And I have something similar experience as well. And I hope this sort of the next 60 minutes will be worthwhile for you. Any other quick thought before we start? Anything else? Anybody wants to comment? Yes.
I work on MBA programs here, and so just looking for better ways to enhance engagement with the students, make our courses more compelling for the students.
Yeah.
And we have a mix of online and face-to-face students. So
Fantastic.
see how that works.
Great, great. And do we have some people watching us remotely right now?
Yes, we do.
Okay, we are. Okay, great, fantastic. So what we'll do is let's go together on this journey. When you hear this word multimodal stimulation, what are the few thoughts which come to your mind? I would like to hear. So take a few seconds, think about this word multimodal stimulation, and what does it stand for you basically in terms of your teaching?
I'm thinking stimulate different parts of the brain.
Stimulating different parts of the brain. Yes.
My thinking.
Perfect, Vinod. Anyone else?
Visual, sound, the interaction of visual, sound, touch, perhaps.
Absolutely. So it's as the name suggests, multimodality. It tried to stimulate various modalities. And what we'll do is, in the next few minutes, we'll try and experience this live right here, right now. So this is the opportunity for you to take quick 30 seconds and read this. All right. Most of us finished reading? Okay. Now, while you were reading this, could you also imagine something as well? Like, what is the story about? What were your thoughts? What can you imagine? What can you visualize when you were reading this? Anybody wants to quickly share?
Conversation.
A conversation with someone?
Between two people, I think, but we're just maybe a phone call, we're just hearing one side.
Yeah, it could be a phone call as well. Great. Anyone? Yes, Vinod?
I could put everything in the scene. Imagine somebody driving, people coming in. So I was looking at that scene.
Fantastic. So you could literally imagine a sort of little movie playing behind, you know, the guy driving and a pig coming. Anyone else? Can we hear any other imagination? Hello, welcome. Yes, that's all right. All right, so we just read that, right? Now let's move on to the next modality. And let's listen to the story now. Exactly same script. Let's listen to it now.
Dobby, it's Keith. I was driving along Dundas Lane and there was a pig in the middle of the road. Anyone over there know anything about it?
No, mate. You're in a different valley. No one knows a thing.
No one? Yeah, you don't know anyone out that way who has pigs?
Mar Creek. No, I'm not too sure over there.
Bloomin' pig.
No, it's a wee one. Guy just down the road from me that's got a couple of pigs.
So you got the picture?
Yeah, it's not mine.
You don't know anything about looking after pigs?
Not really. I just know they taste all right.
Any luck?
I didn't know a thing.
I got your email about Sue, the pig. I could bring her back to you tomorrow or the next day? This afternoon? Okay, I'll see you then.
Life's better together, so stay connected on New Zealand's leading mobile network.
All right, so now the first step was you read the story. The second step was you heard the story. After hearing the story, did you manage to get some extra information? All of you feel that it was more powerful? You could understand it a bit better? Yeah? while you were listening to it, could you also sort of imagine what was happening? Yeah? And remember, we all have different imaginations, right? Our years of experience, our background, there's a lot of diversity in the learning group as well. Different people can imagine different things, but sort of similar-ish track, all right? Now, let's move on to the next step where we're going to get a visual stimulation, okay? Exact same story, it's depicted only visually though, all right? Let's hit play now. Yeah. No sound, yeah, that's perfect. No, it has to be muted, yeah, perfect. All right, now this was the visual stimulation. Could you get something extra in this attempt? Yeah? Do you think that this was slightly more engaging? You could add in a little bit of an extra information or the feel to it? You all agree? I see a lot of nodding head, right? Okay, now let's move on to the next bit where we're going to be putting everything together. Can we play this if possible? Yeah.
Nobby, it's Keith. I was driving along Dundas Lane and there was a pig in the middle of the road. Anyone over there know anything about it?
No, mate. You're in a different valley. No one knows a thing.
No one? Yeah, you don't know anyone out that way who has pigs?
Mar Creek. No, I'm not too sure over there.
Bloomin' pig.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to see if I could switch on the subtitles and English.
Shush. No, it's a wee one.
Guy just down the road from me that's got a couple of pigs.
So you got the picture?
Yeah, it's not mine.
You don't know anything about looking after pigs?
Not really. I just know they taste all right.
Any luck?
I didn't know a thing.
I got your email about Sue, the pig. I could bring her back to you tomorrow or the next day? This afternoon? Okay, I'll see you then.
Life's better together, so stay connected on New Zealand's leading mobile network.
I'm not trying to promote Vodafone, by the way. All right. Now, do you think the last one, when we had the visual, the auditory, even the subtitles going on, do you think that was more informative in the end? Or you think it didn't really add much, or you thought it was really informative? What do you guys? You think it was more engaging? Okay. Anybody else? Quick thoughts?
You linked together the timing, so the content.
Absolutely.
Timing created a different layer of
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes some of the slangs, the Kiwi slang, it was easier to sort of look at it and hear it and see it at the same time. That sort of helps a little bit more. So the idea here is basically, I can't move on to the next slide. So the idea here is basically, that's what multimodal stimulation is, that we are trying to stimulate various modalities of the brain simultaneously, and that facilitates better neuronal connections. So as an audiologist, the research which I do revolves around looking at the plasticity of the brain and how we can work or augment that plasticity of the brain. And that's what happens when we are stimulating just an auditory area. The information goes to the auditory area and is processed by that area. And then it further goes to the next path. However, when we are stimulating everything together, the more areas of the brain sort of lit up. And it facilitates better sort of under comprehension as well as retention of the concepts. That's what the research around multimodal stimulation states. And I think that's the underlying principle of using videos as well in your teaching. And when I say video e-consultation, I didn't mean video in general. I'll be talking about a certain types of video, which we call as instructor-made videos. And so what's the background of those videos, and what's the best practice around instructor-made videos? So when you hear this word instructor-made videos, what does pop to your mind? What do you think it is? Yes?
Just videos of the academic getting their knowledge out visually and yeah.
Exactly, as simple as that, right? So it's the instructor who has made a video for the learners. So now there's this research by Garrison which talks about how the engagement of students with the content is extremely important. But along with this engagement of learner with the content, there are two other forms of engagement. The engagement of learner with the instructor, means the person who's teaching them, and also the engagement with the peers. So it's about learner learning from each other, from the instructor, and from the content. So this particular types of videos are focused slightly more around enhancing the connection between the instructor and the learners and facilitating that connection really well. And there are certain best practice guidelines around instructor-made videos as well, which I'll be touching upon today as well. So the research shows that the students of today's time are consuming more and more audiovisual material. Like I've got two daughters, they are really little, 5 years and 7 years, and they're already into all these things, videos, and every day they watch videos basically, you know, so they are consuming videos. And a lot of our students, most of them are using social media, like they're using all forms of social media. They're using Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat, and then they're on YouTube. They're everywhere, right? And it's becoming more and more prevalent. And surprisingly, I think a couple of months back, I was in one of the seminar where I sort of overheard someone saying that, you know what, universities have been like this from past 500 years. And we are going to be like this for another 500 years. And I was literally shocked when I heard something like that from someone really senior. Because I personally think that's a very dangerous viewpoint to hold. Because there's so much of advancement and evolution in technology happening right now around us. And if we as academic institutes, we don't adapt ourselves, we don't modify and equip ourselves accordingly, we are at very high risk. Is there anyone here who sort of resonates with my thinking, or you think I'm crazy? Yeah, you feel, yeah, precisely, right? Because compared to when I was a student, teaching was very different. We would sit in a classroom, and there would be a whiteboard, and the professor would come, and they would talk, and we would listen, right? That was the primary source of information. You know, that was like the God for us. Okay, whatever they are saying, we'll write it down. That's the most important thing. All that is changing. Everything is available on Google these days. Why should someone pay thousands of dollars, enroll in a university, and be sitting in my class? What is that extra I am doing? Am I doing enough or not? These are some of the questions I would like to raise today. I was looking at the research which talks about the 21st century skills which workforce is looking at. It's about critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity, the 4 C's of 21st century. Now, I need to ask this question to myself, that when I am sitting in my class, am I promoting my students to facilitate them to gain some of these C's or not? Or it's just about content? Because I'm, of course, from medical and health sciences, and then, people say that it's about content. It is content-heavy discipline. Yes, it is. And there are many disciplines which are content-heavy. But we should also remember the fact about signature pedagogies by Lee Shellman, which they talk about how your discipline will always color the practice. However, that doesn't mean it has to be only a traditional way of just transmission of information from one person to other. And if we rely on that mode, learning will never ever be transformative. And it's the transformative learning process which brings radical change. So once again, this question which I ask myself when I'm preparing for my teaching is, will I be facilitating that transformative learning or not? And how can I do that? So this is some of the research around instructor-made videos, that how they could scaffold learning, especially conceptual one. As Vinod was talking about, that how there are certain concepts which he must demonstrate to the students. And we all encounter in our own disciplines that there are certain concepts which we think that maybe if students are encountering them themselves for the very first time, they might find them challenging. Those could be perfect opportunity to incorporate in instructor-made videos so that it can facilitate self-paced learning. The learners can control the pace delivery. I may be too fast for someone, I may be too slow for someone. So learner, they decide how they want to control the pace. They are in control of their learning. And it personalizes their learning. They could choose the time, place, device, all of those. When do they want to watch it? How they want to watch it? Where they want to watch it? It gives a lot of freedom to them. Of course, it has components of multimodal stimulation, and which makes it really more engaging. And research shows that it also facilitates better classroom engagement. A lot of my students and the feedback which I have received, the summative feedback which happens towards the end, a lot of students have said that, before even walking in the classroom, we felt that we sort of knew you. I don't know whether it's making sense or not. Like, I haven't met you before, but I get this feeling that I sort of know you. So before even meeting Chris, when I looked at his videos, I got this feeling that I sort of know this guy. Although I was, I met him for the first time, many months later, but it leaves that impression. And it sort of makes learning more appealing and interesting, which is the key. If people are sitting there without interest, if it is of no appeal to them, it becomes really hard to break into them, right? If it is something more appealing and interesting, the process becomes slightly more easier and smoother. So what we'll do is, let's quickly talk about the 4 best practice guidelines around instructor-made videos. First thing is duration, very important. We can have videos for like 2 hours and 3 hours, but it may not be worthwhile, because the research says that anywhere around 15 minutes, student attention drops drastically when they're sitting in a lecture. So that's their attention span. So if we want to make sure that we grab that, the duration of video should be smaller. Anywhere from around under 10 minutes. Now that can vary from discipline to discipline. Most of the videos which I have made are around 5-minute timeline, but it could be up to 10, 12 minutes or so as well. Focus, that's extremely important. The instructor-made videos, as some of you here were saying that you love giving, of course, being physically there in the class, but also want to take some of the content and convert it into online mediums. So choosing specific aspects of your content, especially those ones which can be challenging for students to comprehend when they're encountering it for the very first time, that's a good starting point to convert those particular aspects into instructor-made videos. So they need to be clearly focused around a particular thing, right? Rather than being super generic. Of course, they must be aligned with the learning objective of your course. So it cannot be something which is going off in a totally different direction. So obviously, when you're planning your course, you would know how it is getting aligned with the learning objectives of the course. And a little bit of planning also helps to create better instructor-made videos. So I'm going to show you some examples as well, and you might feel that the usual tone of those videos is very conversational. Although it's conversational, there was planning which was sort of put in use, and that's how we decided, okay, we're going to plan it in this way. So it's always good to plan a little bit about how exactly you're going to be executing some of those videos. So is there any question around some of these guidelines around instructor-made videos, or these are very clear points? Yeah, clear points? Yeah. Anybody wants to add anything here based on your experience or based on your disciplinary work? Or you think this is all right? All right, okay. Great, okay, let's move on. And what I'll do now is, I'm not going to play this video. This is just a background. I'm going to be talking about this course and how it was challenging and what sort of challenges we faced, and then how we organically got into instructor-made videos and how they what sort of impact they had on this particular course. So I'll be sharing this little case study sort of thing with all of you, all right? So this particular course is called Population Health 302. This is offered to third-year health science student. And as a part of this course, the students spend 60 hours at various health placement agencies in Auckland. And when they go do those 60 hours of work placement, we run series of seminars for them, and facilitating and aiming to ensure that they are more work ready. So it's around work readiness of those students. Now, this course, it changed drastically in 2016. Until 2015, this course was offered once a year to only certain students with very high GPA. So top of the class, you will take it, and they would be offered this particular course once a year. However, from 2016, they made this paper a core capstone paper, which means it would be offered to everybody. They must do this course to get the degree. And instead of offering once a year, this course was now offered on both semesters. So we would be running it twice in a year. Okay? So obviously, as a result of these changes, the number changed drastically. So anywhere from 30, 35 students a year, now we were having around 120 to 140 students a year, which is like a massive change in scale, right? However, when the university enforced some of these changes, obviously no prize for guessing, the resources remain exactly the same, like exactly the same. Like not even one extra person was added in the team. So it was like, well, you do it, you deal with that. So the year 2016 was sort of very challenging for us to sort of figure out that what exactly we need to do and how exactly we're going to be coping up with some of these things. Because the model was, until 2015, if anybody needs, we can have one-to-one meetings with them. We can work very personally. However, that model was not practical when you have 100+ students. And along with students, we also have all these health placement agencies and the supervisors. So as a teaching staff, I need to work very closely with them as well. So the job here is to be somewhere in between. Ensure that the students are doing well, but also the placement supervisors are also happy, and we have a great relationship with them as well, because we need that for long time engagement as well. So these are some of the challenges we were facing in 2016, and as a result of that, our evaluation sort of ratings went really, really down. So it was, the red color indicates we became a red flag course actually, that our evaluations were poorer compared to the academic unit, the faculty, and the university. And then when this happens to you, you actually go and you're called in an office, and then you sit with the associate dean, and then you talk to them about what is happening and what are you going to be doing, or those sort of thing. So that happened for us continuously for 2 back-to-back semesters. And in this year, I must say that it was an amazing year for me personally for my learning and growth, because although the evaluations were poor, our team was learning every day. We were trying to see what else we could do and what other avenues we could use to ensure that we are offering really meaningful and stimulating learning environment for all our students. So I will also be talking quickly about the assignments, because that was mentioned on the title of the talk as well. So the interesting thing about this particular course is that most of the learning happens at the placement. You know, they get the slice of work experience there. And they are involved in these 4 types of assignments. Like they need to write a report about the organization where they are placed. They write a blog reflecting back on what is happening at the placement, how they have learned certain things, and how they can kind of grow further. They, along with writing an extra blog about a particular skill, they also create a career profile video, which is almost like me in a minute. So you create a video for 1 minute talking about the knowledge, skills, and abilities you have gained through this course and the placement. And finally, they write a report about the project which they're involved in at the placement organization. Now, I must tell you that remember, these are third-year health science students, and most of them have not done any of these assignments in the past. They haven't written blogs before. Majority of them are more used to writing essays rather than writing reports. And of course, video as well was also very challenging to them. So we had to keep this in mind, that these assignments are quite novel to them. They're new for them, right? For various reasons. And as a result of that, and it was also not practical to sit with one by one with all the students and take them through all of these assignments. So we decided to create instructor-made videos around these assignments. And I'm going to show one of those videos to you. Can we go to the next slide and see if we can play this particular video? So this is about one of their assignments. Let's see what...
You had some questions about your second assignment?
Yes, I do. Second assignment is about writing the blog. Now, personally, I'm not a blogger. I've never written any blog in my life, but so I just don't really see a point of why do we need to write a blog for a placement project.
Now, Dennis, it's absolutely okay that you have not written blogs before. There'll be many students who have not written blogs before. So that's absolutely fine, okay? I don't expect my students to be professional blogger anyways. But tell me one thing, do you often think about things when they happen in general in life?
Yes, I do. I mean, sometimes I do think about, in terms of basketball, sometimes I do tend to think about how I play for my games.
Do you think about that, oh, I've done this error, so I'll try not to do it, or I've learned this thing from this game and I'll try and incorporate that? Do you happen to have these questions in your mind a few times?
All the time, because I mean, that's what makes you a better player.
Exactly.
Right?
That is what you just mentioned, that, you know, thinking about things makes you a better player. Exactly the same way, the purpose of writing a blog is to think about an instance which has happened and think through it in detail, following the guidelines which we have given you, so that you can become a better professional.
Right. So, but then how do I write a blog?
So we have given you a detailed guideline on the course book about how you should be writing a blog. But to make it even more simpler, I just developed this acronym, which is IRLR. So you need to remember these 4 letters.
IRLR.
Precisely. To make it even more simpler, it's like I, Raj, love reading.
Right, okay.
So what these 4 components stand for is, the first one, I, is the instance. Any thought-provoking instance which you have observed, or any story which has touched you while you were at the placement journey, you need to describe it very briefly as the first component. Okay? Once you have done that, the second very important component is relevance. So how is that relevant to your organization and to you? So you need to describe that in detail. Once you have done that relevance, then you need to come on the third very important component, which is learning. So what have you learned from this whole story? And finally, the most important component is the resources. So what else you could do to improve yourself on that particular skill is what you need to describe in the resource towards the end.
I see. So just making sure I am on the right track. I'll try to repeat myself.
Absolutely,
repeat
go
what
ahead.
you just said. So firstly, IRLR. Firstly, I need to describe an issue, an incident that has happened during my placement.
Exactly. Anything thought-provoking which has captured your attention, which you observed, which you found interesting, you need to describe that.
Cool. After that, I will then need to make relevance of the incidents to either myself or the placement,
Exactly,
or the organization.
To both.
To both.
So you need to talk about how exactly that instance is relevant to the organization and to you personally as well.
So I need to describe it in a way to both.
Exactly.
Okay, then the next one's learning, and I have also need to describe and discuss what have I learned from this incident.
Exactly.
And lastly, I will also need to identify resources that can help me to improve or better learn on this particular area.
You got it.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. Now, lastly, is that I understand it's a blog. How formal do I need to write for a blog?
Now, blogs, because the main aim is to capture your thought process, what you observed, what you felt about it, what you learned from it, and how you will improve. So it's very personal. So you don't have to be super formal in your writing. Blogs can be informal, and you also don't really need academic references because it's your thought process which is captured and which is reflected in that piece of writing which you have done. So you don't really need academic references as well, Dennis.
Okay, I see. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Cheers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sitting through this whole 5 minutes for something it may have felt really long. But did you guys get an idea about what this assignment roughly was and what students were expected? So until 2015, we had to actually sit with them, have one-to-one meeting to take them through what these things, components meant. However, now by using these instructor-made videos and putting it on Canvas, on YouTube, students can access these whenever they want. And I could then use my face-to-face time in a sort of seminar more constructively, doing some activities, rather than covering these points that why, first of all, you need to write a blog, and what are the components you need to incorporate in your assignment, and how you should think about some of those things. So it was saving me a lot of time as well. I could just sort of touch upon these rather than sitting with them and talking in detail around some of those things. Now, you don't necessarily have to use it around your assignments. It could be around concepts, a particular concept in business school or in optometry or for first-year medicine students. You could pick some of those components and you could plan that how exactly you would be converting it into a video. Keep it brief, keep it engaging, and you could use various styles. It could be using slides, it could be using pictures, it could be drawing something, it could be you talking face-to-face, it could be a combination of all of these things. So a little bit of a planning, and then I'm sure you could come up with ways of how you could convert some of the concepts into small, tiny videos. And you can do a pilot run, incorporate some of those things, and see how your students are sort of responding to those things. Now, these are evaluation reports over almost 6 semesters' time, 2016 till 2018 semester 1, and we got some really amazing feedback from majority of the students, and these are some of the comments which I picked up to show you. I'll give you a few seconds to sort of glance through some of these things, and I've tried to also sort of underline some of the things, the themes which sort of came out of this feedback. All right, I'm moving to the next slide, which was again a couple of feedback. So most of the feedback which we received is sort of revolved around these themes, that they were really accessible, they could watch it whenever they wanted, it was good for them. They thought that they were really engaging, that we used was sort of conversational style, and we sort of planned questions which Dennis would ask me, and I would try and respond, and then Dennis would sort of reiterate them from his point of view of what exactly I have said. Students thought that gave them sort of one person's view, student's view, and then when they're watching as a third person to the whole thing. So it made it a little bit easier for them. And it was good for their self-paced learning. They could move it forward, they could pause it, they could rewind it, they could revisit some of those things. Now, when you guys watched that video, do you have any particular comment, something which stand out for you, or while you were watching it, what were the thoughts which were going on in your mind around that particular video? Anyone want to share some of the things?
To me, it was the dialogue process. That kind of helped me, even though it was an instructional video, instead of the instructor just talking about it. The fact that the student was also checking that is this the right way, and that kind of captured, like that's exactly how a student would do. Even though your video was 5 minutes, then it's not made sense because it's for the student. If you made a 2-minute video and students came out and rewinding it for 5 minutes, you made that right there. Yeah. The fact that you iterated what the student thought was correct or not and cued in the right direction. I think that was well done.
Thank you. Any other quick comment around that? Anything else which came to your mind when you were watching that?
I was just questioning if it was you all the time there. Or
Pardon?
was it you, the instructor? Or?
Oh, yeah, that was me, by the way. I do. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. So the one in the video was me with the beard, and I was 80 kgs. Now I'm 62 kgs and without beard. So that's the only difference. But yeah, that was me, by the way. Chris, you had a comment.
Yeah, right. So I'm sort of looking at it from a different perspective here. I think there were 3 cameras.
Yes.
That looked like a studio set, unless it's your office, which is a really nice office. I like an office like that. I'm wondering how reproducible that is for somebody who doesn't have access to a camera team. How long it took.
Yes.
How long it took to script.
Yes.
How long it took to shoot.
Yes.
So they're the sort of things that I'm thinking about. So this is very Hollywood. Whereas I don't think a lot of people have
Day to day.
budget,
No.
So that's what people.
Yes. Now, Chris, thank you so much for raising that point. I really appreciate you raising that. And let me just go back, take a step back. Now, this shooting was done in our formal studio of the university. University owns the studio. And so it's a fabulous studio where we have a TV producer, amazing cameras. That's why, they can do your close shot and the distance shot. They can do all that. And we received a little grant to develop these things. However, the interesting thing now, what we are doing in our school is we are trying to replicate this model just by using smartphones. And the other guy, which was there in the video, Dennis, he's actually a teaching fellow for other course. And it was very kind of him to sort of play along as a student, and I became the instructor. But now for his course is even more massive. He teaches 111, which is for first-year health science students, and they have like a couple of hundred students. And so he, in this particular semester, is the very first semester where he has created a lot of these videos just by using his smartphone. And to be honest, all you need is a little quiet place and that smartphone and a little bit of planning. And the overall quality is really good. And to add to that, at Herza, I ran a little workshop about how to make instructor-made videos. And I was amazed to see that the participants who were there, they were given only 20-25 minutes. And then within that 20-25 minutes, they had to discuss, they had to plan, they have to film, they have to shoot, they have to do everything in that 25 minutes. And they all came up with amazing videos. And you could clearly see the good thinking which went behind it and how cleverly they could, they could come up with that video. Unfortunately, I don't have their permission to show those videos to you, so I'm not going to do that. But it's possible to use just your smartphone and create instructor-made videos, point number 1. Point number 2, most of the universities actually have good audiovisual team and media production team. And these days, I can see a trend, universities pumping in a lot of money towards that. So if you figure out and find out, talk to right people, you may be able to know what's the pathway. Can you have access for free of some of these things or not? In my university, it's absolutely free. As long as you book them, you could use them whenever you want. And in terms of the timing, Chris, it took us, say, every video which we made for 5 minutes, we didn't have a script. Like, we didn't have a proper script. But what we would do is we would just talk to each other. That, okay, you're a student, we may talk about, this aspect, and this aspect. Let's just start the conversation. Because if it was like a script and we had to memorize it, it will become too difficult as well, I think. And it will lose that natural essence of it. So we kept it very conversational, natural, and we would talk, and if we fumble, whatever, we'll start again, those sort of things. So, and because you all know your content so well and your courses so well, I'm sure you could be, woken up in the middle of the night and you can start talking about things and you can just go on and on and on, right? So it'll be very easy for the instructor who's involved in a particular course to come up with these videos, I think. Yeah? Did that answer your question? Yeah? So it is possible, it's feasible, and it's to use low budget things and create these instructor-made videos. Some good news. Yeah, so from past 3 semesters, this particular course has it's not been a red flag anymore. More than not being a red flag, we are performing better than the academic unit faculty and the university, to be honest. So I'm not saying that it was the instructor-made video which made the huge difference. Of course, there were a lot of things happening. There were a lot of planning we were doing around. But on the whole, we could see the positive outcome in terms of the student feedback and evaluation as well for this particular course. The same thing is true with the quality of this course as well. You could clearly see that how it dropped in 2016 semester 1, because that was the very first semester, and we were like, okay, how do we cope with this? It went really low, and it gradually started picking up. So in our university, what happens is if you are doing first semester, and if you know what you need to change something, you can't change it for semester 2 actually. You have to keep it uniform for the cohort, for the same cohort. Otherwise, students might be advantaged or disadvantaged. So what happens is if you need to change something, you could change only when it comes to the next year, which is weird, eh?
It's weird because you might be advantaging one year over another.
So they want to keep them at the same level. So if it is terrible, they want you to keep it terrible. Oh my God, this is going on the video. Oh my God, what's going to happen? By the way, I'm leaving the university soon. So yeah, so I think the interesting thing is that a lot of these students, they apply for very competitive courses like medicine and other courses, and they want to keep level field for everybody, basically. So if we want to bring any major changes in the rubric, or if we want to bring any major changes in the assignments and stuff, we need to wait. We need to wait till we start the year fresh. So that's why you'll see that 2016 is similar-ish, and then 2017, when we could change a lot of things, the ratings went a little up. And the same... Maybe we were more comfortable with things we were doing. Yeah? It could be that as well. It could be the time effect as well. Yeah. Now that's about the teacher as well. Now that was the previous graph was about the course. This was the teaching staff. So this also, which is interesting, we dipped down in semester 2. Although we were saying that we felt a little bit more confident. Probably students didn't like that. So it's gone down. But then later on, it's gone up. And I'm very pleased that 2018, it's at a higher level. I'm not saying that SETs or these summative evaluations are the landmark or the best way to assess, but it's one of those things, They are needed no matter, whether you're applying for teaching awards, promotions, jobs, they all ask for these things. So, of course, these are documented here, but then that should not be the only way to evaluate things, yeah. How are we doing in terms of time? We've got 5 more minutes and then finish? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're good. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Perfect timing, yeah.
Thank you very much, Raj, for the presentation. I could see some really good feedback for our cohort here, whether they're in Canberra or whatever. The fact that you took a risk and you tried something different, which was great, and you didn't just stop and reflect after one semester and thought, oh, maybe that wasn't so good. You continued, and the outcome, the better outcomes were then predicted, long term, which was fantastic. I'm going to put up just one more slide, which Raj doesn't know about, and if you don't mind, it'd be wonderful to get your feedback. We're trialling this, so yes, you're guinea pigs. If you could, if you have a device, if you have a phone and you've got internet enabled, if you could just hop onto the tiny URL and provide just 3 quick question survey for us before you leave, that would be great. We have no questions from Canberra. They have been communicating, and but they have been online. But anyway, thank you very much, Raj. If I could have congratulations again for Raj coming all the way from Auckland. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being such an amazing audience, all of you and all of you as well. So thank you so much. Thank you.
And don't forget, this has been live streamed and lecture recorded and will be available on the Moodle lecture recordings website, or the Connections website. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would probably pass on my emails as well to Catherine. So any one of you, if you want to get in touch with me and want to have a better discussion, I'll be very, very happy and willing for that as well. So if you want to stay in touch, please do. And all the very best for your respective teachings. And I'm sure you all are going to do an amazing job as well. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much, Chris.
So Raj, what were some of the negative comments from the students? Pretty much you said, oh, everything's great and this is amazing. Was there anything like negative or constructive feedback from some of the SETs?
Yeah, so most of the comments around the videos were positive. Students really liked it. In fact, one thing which they wanted was that we should have more and more of these.
Yeah.
We had only 4 of these around their assessments. So what they wanted was they wanted way more of those.
Yeah.
And they thought that that would really help them. And we are sort of taking that on board. We are trying to, in due course, we are going to come up with other means as well. Because we have created an online sort of course for the placement supervisors, which had a lot of small videos as well for the supervisors who will be supervising the students. So we have sort of finished that part. Now, with time and based on the student feedback, we are sort of working towards some of the other things as well.
So also, does that mean you can't do extra videos between semester 1 and semester 2? You can't do that.
Not a good
Even
idea.
if there's a mistake in something, you can't.
You're allowed to fix the mistake, but then you're not allowed to add a lot of extra resources compared to the, otherwise it's not fair for the previous cohort.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you ask for actual student questions, or are these just kind of assumed questions that you've made? Are these actual questions from students, or questions that you thought students might ask?
Yeah. So in this particular videos, we based on our experience in 2015, what sort of things students usually ask, they've asked us, we have picked some of those themes and we have used those in this particular video. So the first question which usually students ask is, why the hell I need to write a blog? Like, so we've tried to address it and try to link it with the personal life as well. That in general, when you reflect on things, it helps you to grow. So we try to capture that point. And then some of the other issues around how exactly they need to write, whether they need to write references or not, and what should be the style of writing. So these were some of the questions we have encountered from the students in the past, and we have used them in this particular theme. Yeah.
Raj, as you were speaking, I sort of had the analogy of the video as instruction videos, as if an academic was answering a question face-to-face at the end of the lecture. So you're having a conversation about something, but you're capturing it on video.
Yeah.
In the same way that you would capture frequently asked questions
Yes.
to emails, that would be, you know, you're answering the same response on emails. You could create just a text-based FAQ. So I see yours as a, if you want to think about it, what are some of those queries and questions that you would get at the end of the lecture that you would then capture, package as a video resource and then have that available online?
Absolutely, you've said it all, Catherine, in a very nice way. And I think if we are realizing in our course, respective courses, that if we have to address a particular thing a few times, that should be a sign that, okay, hang on a second, why am I doing this again and again? Maybe I can capture the best version in a form of a video and let them play it as many times as they want, and pick up some of those frequently asked questions or instructions in a form of a video. You could even have an introductory welcome to the class in a form of a video. So they sort of connect with you a little bit more, and they get to see you as a person. And yeah, thank you, Catherine, for that. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Just on terminology, they use the word blog as opposed to reflective piece or journal or something. Did you think about that, or was it just, so why did you choose blog?
Now, that's a very difficult question, but thank you for asking that question. I think this blog does involve reflection in it, but because of its conversational style, because of the fact that you don't have to use any references, it's super personal, and a lot of people sort of use blogging to express their experiences and stuff. That's why we picked that word blog, but it does definitely have a reflective component in it as well. Yes. So it could be, I wouldn't be surprised if instead of having the name blog, it could be a reflection writing, or it could be something like that. that's very well possible as well.
I was just wondering if the students found it more, sort of, just in their heads, sort of found it more accessible or less. I don't know if you had any student feedback on that. It seems a small thing, but you know, whether it seemed less onerous or more relatable. Or
No, that's a good point. We haven't really investigated more around that, but you're probably right that it would be nice to see or maybe explore more that if there's one terminology or the other which they sort of connect or prefer more, or they find less complicated than the other, then it should probably be used. So thank you for that point. Great, thank you. Can I stop this now, Captain? There you go.
So when I was looking at some of the slides, do you have a couple of minutes? Because I can go through. I don't think I told you, but just go back to a few. Go back. Keep going. Stop. No, okay, keep going back. Yeah, here we go. So here's a couple of things. You talked about the personalised stuff. I think it's maybe a couple of slides for that. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So this one's an interesting one. So the thing is, I can watch a video at double speed. I can control the pace of my learning. See, here's the challenge, right? In this, you put the learning in people's hands, in their own hands. Actually, is that actually appropriate for everyone to do so? I don't think so. I think it'll be different for everyone. Right? So the question is, you know, how do people pace their own learning? And I think some students don't actually know, right? So this is good because I mean I watch stuff.
Thank you so much.
And if the vice chancellor puts out some sort of thing, I'll go do it as fast as I can, right? Am I learning anything? Probably not. So this is an interesting one for me, and also this one. I mean, the research that I've done in this with closed captioning, actually you can be overstimulated, and the closed captioning is actually a distraction sometimes. So you know that one and that one sort of stood out to me as sort of I mean, I know you were mentioning these guys. I have my own thoughts on that. They were two things. I mean, I haven't read these papers, but I still don't think people really know. That's nobody really knows.
We don't really have a lot of information.
Yeah,
I sort of get this point. Even this one, multimodal solution, not everything you necessarily have to.
Not really.
It depends on whatever is going on and stuff like that. Yes, I agree.
Do you guys mind if I take a photo of you?
Yeah.
You've got to hold your poster.
Is this pretty different about you?
I got them last week.
Wow.
They're needed. So if you've got your children and then you get braces, do it with your children. I have a baby tooth. And my baby tooth doesn't have a tissue to replace it, so I need to go to a tooth implant and I need to make space, and it's just, I've known about it for years and I haven't done it. So my brother got braces and I didn't because I had good teeth, and then I realised my baby tooth was just
Same. I used to have really good teeth and then got a wisdom tooth.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, what did you go against?
So yeah.
To be honest, I know it perfectly. I don't like that.
Personality, right? But that's okay.
My dentist is like 10
The first
months.
slide, maybe
Yeah. So it's split there.
He goes to,
Of course. Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to take a photo of my.
Oh, yeah, that's
Should I? Can you just go? Like, I don't want to tuck my shirt in. Is that? Or do you want to go like? Is a light background worse or better?
No, it's fine.
Yeah. I just wanted to.
You have lines on your face, but first.
Oh yeah. Okay. Right, maybe in the middle. Then.
Yeah, better to be the same.
Okay, all right.
That's
So
it.
remember.
That's it.
The untouched shirt.
That's all right, Chris. And one more. Touch something. Now. That feedback, how long did that take you? You know,
30 seconds.
I did that for
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if
All the time.
I can send you another photocopy as well. Yeah.
So you've got that forever, no one else can take that.
That's it. As I said to Alina, what we now need to do. Well, anyway, we're using normal. We'll continue. I just wanted to trial it for this, and that was good. That was good. So if that didn't take that long, that's a good thing.
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, the end bit, the shorter the end bit, the more logical the better. So that's all right.
That was logical as opposed to 6 characters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, which nobody can remember.
Yeah, that's good. Well done. After all that technology.
Oh, really? I thought I'd be in the corridor again. We had to, Raj had to go to a different room at the first conference because nothing was working there either. So, yeah.
Technology, Angela.
I know.
But thank you for being flexible with that.
But the other thing is, Raj, look around. There's whiteboards. We're all sitting in a room. Like the thing is, all these universities have seen things come and go, and the thing is, this stuff is not going to. Everyone wants to set the world on fire, but the world's a very big place to burn. Okay, so the thing is, videos in education has been around for over 100 years. So it's not you. It's not you. Okay.
What is new?
It's not you.
What is new is that the academics are creating it in their own space.
That's true.
And that's what is new. And that's something different. We could have picked something up. We could have bought a VHS and plugged it in and played whatever. Yes. But now they're creating the content, and I think that's that hurdle that there's a little bit. I'm not so sure about it. We also have a Media 2 Centre here, which people can go and use, and high-tech cameras and audio equipment, which is fantastic. So that's available, and some faculties have their own. Medicine had, I think they're getting it, but built environment have their own. Yeah, so just depends. That's for lecture recordings, and they have their own lecture recording, and they do it on the run. It's actually quite good because they're able to. Where here, what we've got is one on you and one on that. In engineering, they have the ability to got this system set up where they actually toggle between the two, and they do that on the run. So that at the end, you've got the final product at the end. So they just pick it up and say, there you go, put it wherever you want. You can put it on YouTube, put it on Moodle, put it wherever. Which is great. When you go into that post-production, you don't want it.
I just scream it live, that's it. I come from the David Hasselhoff school. One take and that's it. And if it's wrong, I don't care. You know, I've been doing it so long, I don't care anymore. Perfect. You know, no, just ask YouTube, right? You stupid Brit. Hello, Aussie. I'm Australian, mate. You know.
Maybe you think I'm saying not coming strong enough to that?
Oh, crikey, let's do some maths, mates. Yeah. All the YouTube people, they're
lovely, yeah. Money don't take personally, right?
I got over that. Well, working in academia.
You could disable the comments if you want to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Haters on YouTube. Look, all I know is I got my phone leather patches. I'll be fine. Should we go get some lunch or something? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. All right.
We'll be in touch with a bit of a feedback from this. Yeah, so you can add to your portfolio when you go for that next promotion or whatever, you know. Look what I did in
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your hard work.
That's right. And you know, Raj, we have actually a shared history, Australia and New South Wales and New Zealand, because New Zealand used to be part of the colony of New South Wales. Did you know that?
very long time.
Yeah. Very long time ago. So we used to run our state used to, our colony used to run your country. Let's go.
Thanks.
Well,
thank you very much. Thank you, Raj. Have a safe trip back. All right, you send me that email too.
His kids go to school next door to my house, so I always see him. I'm like, hi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I tried to speak Greek to his daughter's learning Greek. I think his son's learning Greek. I was like,
has he got the?
I've got this. And his poor child was just looking at me. I was like, maybe I spoke too fast. I was just like, good morning. This is cool. Yeah, we're neighbours because he lives on one side of me, and then Jeff lives on the other side of me. I know. So I usually see someone.